Hey, welcome back to the Sunday Serving channel. And beautiful day. Summer is ending, fall is coming, but it's a day to be encouraged by the gospel. And what better gospel today than from Luke chapter 7? There's a wonderful story about forgiveness that I think will mean a lot to you. I know it does to me. It's the end of chapter 7. It's when Jesus went to have dinner at a Pharisee's house. It says here, starting at verse 36, when one of the Pharisees invited Jesus to have dinner with him, he went to the Pharisee's house and reclined at table. They had, I guess, this interesting custom back then when they went to someone's house for dinner. Instead of sitting at the table, they lay down at the table. It says a woman in that town who lived a sinful life learned that Jesus was eating at the Pharisee's house. So she came there with an alabaster jar of perfume. So it says it right there, this woman lived a sinful life, had heard about Jesus, probably never seen Jesus herself before, and heard that Jesus was at the house of the Pharisee and went there. And she brought a gift. She brought an alabaster jar of ointment or perfume, something very expensive. As she stood behind him at his feet weeping, she began to wet his feet with her tears. Then she wiped them with her hair and kissed them and poured perfume on them. Now that's some pretty hands-on action there, wetting someone's feet with your tears. First of all, she was crying. Why was she weeping? Well, I think we assume it's because she was repentant. She was remorseful for her life of sin. And she knew Jesus was the one who could heal, who could forgive sins. And so she was entreating him, washing his feet. That was a custom too, washing someone's feet with her own tears and putting perfume on her feet. Imagine what the people around must have thought about that. And it tells that. It says, when the Pharisee who had invited him saw this, he said to himself, so he didn't say this out loud, he said to himself, if this man was a prophet, he would know who is touching him and what kind of woman she is, that she's a sinner. In other words, he thought to himself, man, if Jesus only knew this woman's background, he wouldn't have anything to do with her. He would tell her to go away. So he was doubting that Jesus, could really read and understand the background of people. Well, this man didn't even have to voice his thoughts out loud. Jesus read his heart. And that happens so often. Jesus can read our heart now, today, what we're thinking, what our intentions are. And he answered this man. He said to him, Simon, I have something to tell to you. Tell me, teacher, he said. Then Jesus told a story. Often he would answer someone's questions or thoughts by telling a story. And this was his story. He said, 2 people owed money to a certain moneylender. One owed him 500 denarii and the other 50. So that's 10 times as much. One man owed 10 times as much as the other to this moneylender. Neither of them had the money to pay him back. So he forgave them. He forgave the debts of both these men, the 500 and the 50 denarii. Now, which of them, Jesus asked, which of them will love him more? Simon replied, I suppose the one who had the bigger debt forgiven. You have judged correctly, Jesus said. So that's also interesting. Jesus often made people answer their own questions to him. And often that's the case. When we have a question, sometimes it's not really sincere. We're trying to justify ourselves. And if we read in the Bible, the Spirit of Jesus will answer our own questions. We know in our heart, in our conscience, what is right. So Jesus said to this man, you have answered correctly. You've judged correctly. That was all he said to the Pharisee. Then he turned to the woman and said, do you see this woman? Well, he was talking to the man still. Do you see this woman? I came into your house. You did not give me any water for my feet, but she wet my feet with her tears and wiped them with her hair. You did not give me a kiss, But this woman, from the time I've entered, has not stopped kissing my feet. You did not put oil on my head, but she has poured perfume on my feet. Therefore, I tell you, her many sins are forgiven. As great as her love, she has shown. But whoever has been forgiven little loves little. So that's a deep thought. If we are forgiven a lot, this woman was forgiven a lot of sins, she has great love. And if you're only forgiven a little, your love will be little. That's what Jesus said here. Then Jesus said to the woman, your sins are forgiven. Isn't that an amazing statement that Jesus could say to someone? Your sins are forgiven. The other guests began to say among themselves, who is this who even forgives sins? Jesus said to the woman, your faith has saved you. Go in peace. So what an encouraging story. And this one is about a different kind of healing. The kind of healing in the heart, in the soul. The changing of a life. The unloading of a burden of sin. Of a whole lifetime of pain and suffering from sin. This woman must have been trapped in this lifestyle. And Jesus, because of her great love and because of her faith, forgave her sins. And even the guests in the house of the Pharisee, they realized what an amazing thing that was, that Jesus was able to forgive sins. They recognized that that was even greater than the miracles of healing that they had witnessed. So God bless you, and let's believe in this power of Jesus to forgive sin. All it takes is a repentant heart, someone that wants to turn around and lay those sins at the feet of Jesus. He will forgive. So God bless you. Have a wonderful week.